Hey, what's going on, wrestling fans? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and welcome to another edition of the TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast, where we talk about some of the hottest topics and all of professional wrestling. And tonight we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw, the Monday Night Raw review. Just finished watching Raw on Netflix, and I wouldn't call it a shocker, but Gunther, he wins the World Heavyweight Championship for the second time in his career on Monday Night Raw. He chokes out Jey Uso to win back his World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso, after 51 days, he relinquishes the WWE World Heavyweight Championship from Gunther. Man, I got to say, man, I'm not too shocked by this. I mean, I can understand why the WWE decided that Gunther needed to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, Gunther, it just seems like his whole persona, I mean, his whole gimmick is him being a world champion. And Gunther losing a championship match yet again to Jey Uso, you have to wonder, where can Gunther go from here? Gunther is basically presented as this unstoppable force. It takes acts of God in order for him to lose. He doesn't really lose too many matches, justifiably so. I mean, Gunther is so freaking good. This guy can wrestle. This man can wrestle a broomstick and it would be entertaining. I mean, this man is the epitome of a professional wrestler. If you want to build a professional wrestler, you would want him to be like Gunther. But it was a very solid match. We'll talk about that just a little bit later, but we'll go ahead and talk about the Raw rundown, things that happened over the course of the night. Kicks off with John Cena, the WWE champion, coming off of a loss to Cody Rhodes and Main Event Jey Uso. He tagged up with Logan Paul. He comes out to the ring, standard stuff. He comes out, to a chorus of boos, and, he gets his official introduction by Alicia Taylor. And, he basically goes in, criticizes the people, talking about how, they're lobbying for RTruth, and you're not going to care about RTruth later on down the line. I must say, some of the things that John Cena was saying in his promo had a lot of validity. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that they just fall in line. There's always something that they are upset about, and John Cena actually talked about that. He criticized the WWE universe. He called them keyboard warriors. He called them all these different type of names. And he basically said he's not going to waste his time going up against somebody like RTruth. You rather see me take on somebody that's a gimmick, a joke, than to take on some credible world champions. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out comes CM Punk. And CM Punk, to me, I don't know if this was one of CM Punk's best promos. I don't know, man, because it just seems like he was kind of all over the place. He talked about how he was out there for the people and how the roles have been reversed, how at one time he was a guy that was out for himself and John Cena was the one fighting for the people. And now the roles are reversed. CM Punk, is fighting for the people and John Cena is all about himself. He talked about, John Cena basically rolling over for the final boss. And yeah, like I said, it wasn't the best promo, but all in all, CM Punk basically challenged John Cena, said if John Cena was a real man and if he wants to gain any little of respect that he actually had left for him, he'll allow him to challenge him for his WWE championship. And John Cena was like, of course, I'll challenge you, but I'm not going to do it in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to do it at Night of Champions in Riyadh. So it sets up a WWE championship match, John Cena versus CM Punk for the WWE championship. And then out comes Seth Rollins, the winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Mr. Money in the Bank comes out draped in money green, has that money green suit on. I mean, that was a badass suit right there. I mean, sometimes Seth Rollins loses me with some of the clothes that he wears, but that was a badass suit. And he comes out with Bronson Reed and Brian Breaker, Paul Heyman, and he holds up the briefcase, basically letting John Cena know that, you know, I hold all the cards. We know that Seth Rollins has talked about having power, and him having that Money in the Bank briefcase and can cash it in at any time gives him that power. So that was just, you know, something that, you know, he held up in the air and maybe put on people's mind, especially when it comes to the main event later on in the evening. Then we seen the first match of the night. We seen AJ Styles taking on Chad Gable. To me, this is a really good match. If you're into technical wrestling like I am, you got AJ Styles, who is one of the best of all time, and you got Chad Gable, to me, who is a very, very underrated superstar. You know, while everybody's out here crying about LA Knight not winning Money in the Bank and how much they want RTruth for right now, nobody's really lobbying for Chad Gable. Chad Gable has been putting on classics over the last 2.5 months. He put on a classic at Worlds Collide with Vikino. He put on a classic with Penta in his debut match. I mean, he has been putting on classic matches over the last few months. So if anybody needs to be sitting up here talking about, you know, a championship opportunity, it should be Chad Gable. Maybe people are not really lobbying for him because he kind of got a push when he's under the mask as Americano. I guess that can be, you know, looked at as a push. But at the end of the day, he has been putting on really good matches, and this was a good, solid match. It went back and forth. You had the Creed brothers on the outside. You know, you had some interference periodically from them. But all in all, AJ Styles was able to overcome the Creed brothers on the outside to get the victory over Chad Gable. 1, 2, 3. The winner is AJ Styles. And I think AJ Styles needed a win. It's been a while since AJ Styles really had a credible win. I understand where AJ Styles is at this stage of his career. It doesn't seem like he's really, you know, chasing the WWE championship. It seems like, you know, he really doesn't want that as his path. He seems like he has embraced that leadership role where he can put over some talent that's up and coming, all the while, you know, basically maintain some momentum and some credibility. So I don't have a problem with AJ Styles, you know, in his position right now. Everybody knows if AJ Styles needed to turn it up, he indeed can. And then we move on to the Queen of the Ring qualifying match. You had 4 women that were a part of this match. You have several fatal 4-ways for the King of the Ring qualifying tournament, as well as the Queen of the Ring qualifying tournament. So we've seen Roxanne Perez taking on Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Kairi Sane. And, you know, this was a very exciting match. You know, it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of, you know, Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan working together. So it seems like they're trying to build on that storyline. We seen at the beginning of that match, Roxanne Perez is trying to negotiate with Liv Morgan before they go out there, saying basically, let's go ahead and work together, try to eliminate Kairi Sane. Let's try to eliminate Rhea, who's the biggest threat. And then it comes down to us and let the best woman win. But Liv Morgan wanted no part of that whatsoever, didn't want nor need the help of Roxanne Perez. And out comes Liv Morgan, followed by Roxanne Perez, and then Kairi Sane. And then one who had the biggest pop, who is a huge superstar, Rhea Ripley, comes out to a ruckus applause. I mean, people went absolutely ape-ish when she came out there. And like I said, it was a lot of back and forth, but Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez worked together. It seemed like Liv Morgan was starting to come around on Roxanne Perez's idea at the beginning of the match to work together. They were able to, you know, kind of isolate Rhea Ripley, all the while pretty much beat up on Kairi Sane. And then all of a sudden, you know, that's when Rhea Ripley started to kind of hawk up a little bit. You know, she started to get the momentum. It seemed like everything was starting to swing Rhea Ripley's way. And then all of a sudden, here comes Raquel Rodriguez out of absolutely nowhere, which I don't understand where she actually came from. I mean, this is a huge woman. But anyway, her and, Rhea Ripley start to fight. I mean, it was a pretty bad exchange. It seemed like Kairi Sane, I don't know if she was just late for the spot, but it was extremely awkward because you can really tell like they weren't really trying to throw blows at one another. They were just waiting to make sure that they catch Kairi Sane. So finally, Kairi jumped from the top rope onto both women. They catch her or whatever like that, basically taking Rhea Ripley out and Raquel Rodriguez take her out. In the ring comes Kairi Sane. It seems like Kairi is starting to get that momentum. She goes in, tries to finish off Liv Morgan. Then all of a sudden, Liv Morgan, she ends up hitting that insane elbow on Liv Morgan. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Roxanne Perez comes in, rolls her up for the 1, 2, 3, and Roxanne Perez advances to the semifinals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. I think that this is a good move by WWE. Look, I think that the Queen and King of the Ring, when you have young up-and-coming superstars, this is a really great way for the WWE Universe to be introduced to them. We've seen this in years past when Bret the Hitman Hart, back in the early 90s, when they were trying to put the Rocket strapped on his back, and the King of the Ring tournament was the start of that. And in Triple H, you can tell he really loves this tournament. It probably means something to him, especially since he won the King of the Ring tournament. Well, he was supposed to win the King of the Ring tournament back in the day, but we all know that Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up winning that King of the Ring tournament, and the rest is indeed history. But all in all, this was a great moment, and it was a great moment for Roxanne Perez. It was a good way to elevate her, and come to think about it, I think Triple H may eventually end up winning King of the Ring. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's near and dear to him because of that. But your winner is Roxanne Perez. Then you move on to the Fatal 4-Way. You had Sami Zayn taking on Dominic Mysterio, Penta, and Braun Breaker. You had Seth Rollins giving that pep talk at the beginning before Braun Breaker went out there, basically talking about the future and them solidifying the future. He has the Money in the Bank contract. It's time for Braun Breaker to go out there and create his own legacy, get in his opportunity. Braun Breaker gives him a woo, walks out. Everybody's all excited. Out comes the participants in this match. Braun Breaker comes out. I like the entrance. It really seems like, they're really trying to elevate Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker comes out and for the most part pretty much dominates this match. I mean, basically neutralized all three men in the match. Really showed off his skill set, his ability. You can tell the name of the game was to elevate Braun Breaker, to make Braun Breaker look strong. This was, classic elevation 101, where you have a future superstar that you want to put the rocket on and send him to the moon and go out there to make sure that he looks strong. We've seen some of the same thing happen with Roman Reigns. We're seeing the same thing with Braun Breaker. I have no issue with Braun Breaker and him being elevated as the next big thing. He deserves that. You can see the talent. You can see the athleticism. You can see the ability. But you also can see that he is as green as a pepper tree. I mean, he is green as grass right now. A lot of the match, you can see guys like Penta and Sami Zayn basically instructing him. There was a couple of spots where I felt like he was lost in the ring. There was one time where he was trying to, clothesline Penta over the top rope, but it seemed like Penta didn't want that. So instead, he ended up flipping Penta with a German suplex, a belly-to-back suplex. And, also with Sami Zayn, there was a couple of spots where I feel like he was kind of lost when it came to that. But his athleticism, his explosion, his strength, all that was on display. I just feel like it's going to come down to Bron Breakker really being more confident in himself. It just seems like right now he's listening to instruction and he has to trust his abilities. I mean, he has all the talent in the world, and it's only a matter of time before he's able to put it all together. I mean, there's no secret that he is the future of the business. But I feel like all men in this match did a really good job. I don't feel like anybody came out looking like a loser. Dominic Mysterio, he took a lot of bumps. Credit to him. A lot of the moves that were put on him, he really did a good job trying to sell them, make them look more, more, physical, more impactful. So credit to him. And Dominic Mysterio, I mentioned on the last episode when I was talking about the Money in the Bank review, he just gets better and better in the ring. I just think that he's a gym membership away, man. He is a gym membership away from really being that top guy. I think that, everybody can see Bron Breakker being that future champion. Man, I can see Dominic Mysterio being right there with him. Like, I can honestly see Dominic Mysterio main eventing a WrestleMania with Bron Breakker. Like, he has that type of talent, and it's starting to grow. I just hope that he doesn't allow something like, muscle mass to stop him. I mean, he's a young kid. He got plenty of time to get in some phenomenal shape, but it's just the fact that, he just looks, the one thing he has going for him, well, a couple things he has going for him, is the tattoos, and he doesn't have his father's height. I mean, if he had his father's height and he had the muscle mass that he has right now, I don't think anybody would take him serious. So lucky for him, he got the tattoos, he got the height, he got the look, of a guy that, that looks like he belongs. He just needs that size on him. Penta did a really good job in this match. He was able to get his stuff in. It seems like Bron Breakker was on his way to win the match. I mean, he had a lot of momentum, but in comes over the rail LA Knight, hits him with the blunt force trauma and jumps back over the rail. I mean, and I think that this is something that WWE fans wanted to see, of course, because you have a lot of upset WWE fans because LA Knight didn't win Money in the Bank. So it just does seem like the WWE, like at least the new regime of the WWE, is actually listening to fans, because fans were upset. They were wondering what is going to happen with LA Knight. What are they going to do with LA Knight? LA Knight gets involved in the fatal four-way, causes Bron Breakker the match. So the next thing Sami Zayn hops in the ring, hits the haluva kick on Dominic Mysterio. 1, 2, 3, and Sami Zayn advances to the semifinals. Sami Zayn needed this win more than anybody in this match. All right. You removed Bron Breakker by having him involved with LA Knight. That's understandable. Penta wasn't involved in the pin. He still has his momentum. Doesn't hurt Dominic Mysterio, because basically everybody just knows that Dominic Mysterio is the type of champion that finds ways to win in matches, right? He's not the strongest guy. He's not the most physically imposing guy. He just finds ways to cheat in order for him to maintain his championship. So this doesn't hurt his mystique or anything at all. It's just, Sami Zayn getting the victory. Sami Zayn needed something like this. And, he's been beat up by Seth Rollins and his crew. He's had matches where, he's end up, coming off on the receiving end of a loss. So to me, Sami Zayn needed this. So I think that this was a good move by WWE, allowing him to go over in this match, the winner, Sami Zayn, in the fatal four-way. Then we move on to the return of Nikki Bella. All right, Nikki Bella is from Arizona, so they give her the opportunity to come out there. And look, I have nothing against Nikki Bella. Well, I won't say, I don't have anything against Nikki Bella. I just don't look at Nikki Bella the way that people look at Nikki Bella. Like, I just don't. I don't look at her in a way that people, look at her like she's this top star and she was, part of the Divas era. Look, everybody know what the Diva era was. I mean, it wasn't very good wrestling. I mean, it was a bunch of swimsuit models in the ring, putting on lackluster matches. I mean, the matches weren't good. You had a handful of women that can actually go in the ring, but Nikki Bella and Brie Bella, I mean, they were just, swimsuit models out there basically hitting Bronco busters. But anyway, she gets out there and she promotes the PLE Evolution 2, and she talks about, how she main evented the first one and how much it meant to her. And she started naming off different superstars of the past, like herself and so many others that were a part of that Divas group. And then she mentioned Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, and she mispronounced Stephanie Vaquer's name. I don't even know what she said, Vaquer or I don't even Vasquez or something like that, but it was just something that was way off. But anyway, out comes Liv Morgan to interrupt her. She felt disrespected because Nikki Bella didn't mention her when she was talking about the new generation of women that's out there. And she talked to Nikki Bella, told her that she's one of the biggest stars in wrestling right now. She's jealous of her because she's a champion and she got a man. And Nikki responded back and said, well, I'm wondering who Dominic belongs to. Is it you or Roxanne Perez? And then all of a sudden, Liv Morgan, hits her finisher on Nikki Bella and leaves her laying. So it just seems like to me that's probably going to be a match at Evolution 2, Liv Morgan taking on Nikki Bella. So I don't know, man. I mean, I can understand why WWE would put her against Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is one of the biggest stars in WWE right now. She's probably one of the most safest superstars to work with. She's willing to bump. Everybody knows every single week, it just seems like she has like a new scar on herself. She's not afraid to duke it out. She's not afraid to take it as well. So thought that this was, it is what it is. It was what it was, but I'm just not, I just don't see it. I just don't understand the whole Nikki Bella thing. I really don't. I never looked at her as a top superstar at any time, and I think that she's kind of overrated in the ring, if you ask me. But then, well, this actually happened before then, but then you had RTruth. RTruth comes out. He comes out with a hoodie on and a shiesty, and he stands on top of the broadcasting table, and he talked about how people should never look at themselves as individuals that don't matter. You should never feel like you don't matter. He thanked the WWE fans because he said without them, he wouldn't have been there. And y'all are the reason why he's here. And he basically said, RTruth is a good person. I love RTruth. But RTruth was too nice. RTruth was too funny. Right? And sometimes RTruth let people just kind of just run all over him. And then all of a sudden in a statement, I don't think I ever seen in my entire life. I ain't never seen nothing like this. RTruth pulls out some scissors and he cuts his dreads off on live television and said the truth has set him free. And he said he wished somebody would. And he said Ryan Killings is here and you need to put some respect on his name. And I mean, a crowd just went absolutely crazy. This is the reason why you want RTruth back. Like RTruth, a lot of people don't really think about him in this way, but RTruth is one of the best promos that you're ever going to hear. Like, if you don't believe me, go check out his NWA stuff when he was the NWA heavyweight champion. I mean, he can talk on the mic. I think a lot of people, especially in modern WWE, look at him as a guy who just, makes you laugh. He's a funny guy. But when he wants to be serious and he wants to be believable, he has a way of making you believe in what he's saying. And he really showed that tonight. And, this is something that probably woke up RTruth. I mean, let's not get it twisted. They can try to pretend like this was a storyline, this was a part of the show, whatever. No, this man was sent home. He was released by WWE. But credit to WWE for hearing the outcry of fans and bringing back RTruth. And I think that this is something that helped RTruth. Like, man, if I'm going to come back, I'm going to make sure that people remember me when I get back. I'm going to make sure that people know who I am when I get back. Also, in the back, you seen Grayson Waller and Austin Theory arguing. It seemed like they were, I guess separating, which it should have happened anyway. I don't know what happened with the blow off. I don't know what the hell happened with Austin Theory. All I know is this man was almost main eventing WrestleMania. This man was in some marquee matchups. He wrestled John Cena at WrestleMania. He was a part of the Mr. McMahon storyline, fighting Pat McAfee at one other WrestleMania. I just don't understand how this man went from sugar to ish. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't know if Triple H just don't like the guy or what, but he checks all the boxes. I don't understand how somebody this talented with a physique, a look, and the in-ring skills like Austin Theory is chilling out in the back with Grayson Waller. I mean, seriously. I mean, Grayson Waller to me is a guy that's probably in the next 4 to 5 years probably gonna, be doing like little segments like The Miz or something like that, but Austin Theory, this guy can be your future world champion. He can be a guy that's main eventing WrestleMania. I just hope that this whole backstage thing that they had is basically the start for Austin Theory to turn this thing around, because it's a doggone shame what WWE has done to him. As a matter of fact, I honestly feel like maybe they need to add another person to the faction of Seth Rollins. Now, maybe they probably won't, because they want this to be mostly about Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed kind of just playing that heavy. It seems like, they're trying to make that evolution where Randy Orton was supposed to be the guy and Batista was supposed to be the heavy. Batista wasn't supposed to blow up the way that he did. So Bronson Reed is kind of playing that role of Batista, the guy that, is the physically imposing guy, the muscle of the group, even though Bron Breakker isn't too shabby in his own right, but he's supposed to be the future of the business. We even seen on his singlet tonight, you can see on the back of it says the future. But Austin Theory, they need to be doing something with him. I don't know if, maybe they need to have this feud with Grayson Waller, make it ugly, make people care about it, make people want it, like stuff like that. Make people care about these two guys, like they have nothing to lose at this point. I mean, both of them are about as cold as a deep freezer. So allow them to go out there, man, throw punches at one another, maybe, show like a vicious side of both guys, maybe battle around the arena or something like that. Maybe have a blow off in a steel cage where Austin Theory comes out on top, but figure out a way to use Austin Theory, man. Figure out a way to get this man back on the right track. I don't know what he did. Did he show up late? I mean, did he oversleep for an interview? I mean, what happened to Austin Theory? I mean, nobody just turns into go from the top guy or future top guy to just the bottom of the barrel. Like something had to happen in order for Austin Theory to be in this position right now. I just don't understand it. Also, there was a promo by the new Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch comes out there, basically talked about how she should have been celebrating her Intercontinental Championship win with her daughter, who was sitting at ringside for the first time for one of her matches, and celebrating with her hot husband, Seth Rollins, who won Mr. Money in the Bank, but instead, like, she was violated by Lyra Valkyria. Talked about how Lyra basically violated her, which wasn't the truth, but in true heel fashion, trying to act like she was the victim. So she ended up calling out Lyra Valkyria. Lyra comes out there. She looked like she was ready to fight. I like the way that she was all tensed up. It just seemed like, she just had like she'd been up walking the floor all night, contemplating how the hell did I lose to Becky Lynch? And she was just like in this trance. And everybody just expect for her to come down to the ring and go out there and just throw blows with Becky Lynch. But somebody else had a different plan. And that person was Bayley, who has been off television since SmackDown before WrestleMania. And she comes out there and she attacks Becky Lynch. Now, keep in mind, Becky Lynch, when she came back, talked about how she attacked Bayley. She was the one that attacked Bayley before the WrestleMania match, because keep in mind, it was supposed to be Lyra Valkyria and Bayley taking on Raquel and Liv at WrestleMania. But instead, Becky Lynch attacked Bayley to take her spot, and she tags with Lyra, and they become tag team champions for one night only. But, Becky gets attacked by Bayley, and Lyra seems like she's kind of confused, like, what in the world just happened? Like, nah, man, this is my kill right here. Like, she basically had that look like, what is going on here? So I don't know what WWE is going to do. I would try to take a look at Lyra Valkyria. I'm telling you right now, Lyra has really shown a different side of herself. But in the process, she has heel written all over her. I'm telling you, like, she can talk on the mic, and she has like this mean streak that resembles a heel. So maybe, you got Bayley coming back into the fold. She's the sympathetic baby face that got beat down by Becky Lynch. Maybe Lyra is like, you're still in my moment. I'm the one that's supposed to be pursuing the Intercontinental Championship, not you. So maybe this could be one of those situations where everybody thought that Bayley was going to turn on Lyra. Instead, Lyra is going to turn on Bayley. So maybe it's something like that. Not to help Becky, but, just the fact that she's tired of individuals stealing her spotlight. Because keep in mind, Lyra was the Women's Intercontinental Champion. And until Becky Lynch came along, nobody cared. Nobody cared about her being the Intercontinental Champion. So maybe she can look at this like, I'm tired of individuals upstaging me. I'm tired of individuals like trying to steal my spotlight. And this is a way where the WWE can possibly make her that dastardly heel, because right now you really don't have that dastardly like heel in the women's division. They're trying to make Becky Lynch that, but to me, Becky Lynch is fell into almost icon status. So it's kind of hard for individuals to really just truly hate Becky Lynch. Basically people are booing Becky Lynch for the simple fact that she's doing heel things, but nobody wants to boo Becky like that. I mean, she is basically an icon right now. So Lyra can be that next dastardly heel. And when you have her doing, certain things that are bad, people are starting to care about her even more. And maybe you can flip her back, and then maybe when she comes out, people will really start saying, whoa, in unison. You have a few people kind of saying it, but not to a point where it's really over. And then you have, once again, I'll go back to the main event of the evening. I have to mention about the New Day. They talk in the back, but the New Day basically be saying the same things all the time. I have nothing against the New Day. I know they trying to change things up. I ain't got no issue with the new change attitude, but the tag team division, I mean, it's an ICU right now on both brands. I don't know, man. Maybe people aren't caring about tag team wrestling the way that they once did. But nobody really cares about tag team anymore. They really don't, man. They need to figure that out. I don't know what they need to do, but need to figure out something. Then you have the main event. You have Gunther taking on Jey Uso for Jey Uso's World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that Gunther was able to win the World Heavyweight Championship for the second time, but I'll start at the beginning of this match. You had Gunther come out. He came out first. He was serious. It seemed like he was dialed in. You had commentary basically talking about how focused he is, how driven he is. And then out comes Jey Uso with his son, Jace. Jace comes out with him. I'm pretty sure that's a great moment right there, him coming out with his dad. Crowd going absolutely crazy. He's yeeting. He's doing the up, down with his dad. He comes to the ring, and there's this minor detail. The devil is in the details. Normally over the last, few months, years, Jey Uso has wrestled without a t-shirt. Now, Jimmy Uso always has a shirt on. Jey Uso has been wrestling without a shirt on, but in this case, he starts off the match with a shirt on. And you have some back and forth, you have some confident things, you have Jey Uso looking confident, all the while, Gunther questioning himself because he's looking like, man, maybe this dude is better than I thought he was. And then all of a sudden, Jay goes for a splash and he starts to hold on to his ribs. And Gunther like, man, wait a minute here. Like maybe there's something there. Like he's taking a little bit too long for his ribs. And then all of a sudden, Gunther like, wait a minute here. So he ends up kicking him. And with that, he ends up exposing some wrapped, around his waist. I thought that this was great for the storyline, great for the storytelling in this match. You had Jey Uso trying to hide the fact that he has dealt with some rib issues. You had him, take this huge splash, the tsunami from Bronson Reed. You had Logan Paul put him through a table, like all of these different wars, helping out his friends in the name of his friends, trying to come to everybody's aid. He's beat up, he's destroyed. There was even him overselling at the end of the match when Money in the Bank went off the air. He couldn't even stand up. He was sitting down in a ring. So just little stuff like that, and Gunther was able to capitalize on that. I mean, he showed some physicality. I mean, he was brutal about it, right? I mean, if you're a child in the audience, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, you probably have some tears in your eyes, man, really concerned about Jey Uso. I mean, the way that Gunther was actually putting it in, it was something that, if you don't really understand what wrestling is all about, you'll be genuinely concerned about Jey Uso. But, Jey Uso was able to fire back. He was able to get his spots. He tried to get the sleeper hold on Gunther, the move that won him the World Heavyweight Championship in the first place. He was even able to hit Gunther with a couple of spears. He hit him with a Uso splash, 1-2. Gunther kicks out. Gunther, tries to fight him again, and Jey Uso hits him with a spear. He tries to go up again, and he misses this time. And Gunther is able to wrap, the chokehold around Jey Uso. Jey Uso is able to fight out of it a couple of times, able to reverse it. But all in all, Gunther was able to overpower Jey Uso, all of the wars, all of the battles, finally catching up to Jey Uso. Gunther chokes out Jey Uso. He basically passes out, and Gunther becomes the World Heavyweight Champion. And you see Jey Uso on the outside with his son as Gunther raises the World Heavyweight Championships with pyro in the background. So no Seth Rollins tonight, no cash in tonight. It's just, clean as day. Gunther retaining the World Heavyweight Championship. I mentioned that Gunther needs to be the champion. He needs to be strong. If you lose this match, if you're Gunther, you have to ask yourself, where does Gunther go from here? Where does he go? Like, Gunther is basically like made to take on top stars, to take on the CM Punks, the John Cenas, the Seth Rollins, the Roman Reigns, the Randy Ortons. This is what this guy needs, to be facing guys like that, putting them at the mid card, taking on guys like Tozawa. That just ain't it. Like, you might as well just keep Gunther at home. So putting the World Heavyweight Championship on him was the best move. Now, I am going to say this. Most people talk about Main Event Jey Uso. Oh, man, I'm so glad that Jey Uso ain't the champion no more. He can't really wrestle. He only got a handful of moves. I just ask everybody. I encourage anybody that has ever watched wrestling, take a look at the top stars, the tippy top stars in WWE history. I'm not talking about guys that were stars but wasn't the top guy. I'm talking about guys that were the top guys during their era. The Hulk Hogans, the Stone Cold Steve Austins, the Rocks, the John Cenas, the Roman Reigns. All of those guys were big-time stars. Tell me which one of those guys had a catch-as-can-can style. Which one of those guys were the Dean Malenkos, the man of 1,000 hoes? Somebody please tell me. Hulk Hogan had get beat down most of the match. Hulk up, point to him. What you gonna do? Reverse punch, clothesline, big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. That was a Hulk Hogan match. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, if we're talking about stunning Steve Austin, we're talking about a different guy. But Stone Cold Steve Austin post-neck issue with Owen Hart, Luther's press, punch, stomp in a corner, punch some more, stunner, 1, 2, 3, get up out of there. That was what Stone Cold Steve Austin repertoire was. The Rock, punch, spin my hand, punch, spine buster, most electrifying move in sports entertainment, might throw a sharpshooter up in there, rock bottom, 1, 2, 3. Like, nobody had a plethora move. Now, if you're talking about Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, those guys were top guys during their time, but they weren't drawing money like Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, John Cena, Roman Reigns. And Jey Uso kind of fits that mold. Like, it's about drawing money. It's about making money. It's about selling merchandise. So while people are sitting up here looking like, oh, he's not Will Ospreay, like, you don't have to be. It's about, can you move the crowd? Can you move merchandise? Can you sell tickets? And for 51 days, that's what Jey Uso did. He was the top merch seller in WWE during the time that he was champion. And now after 51 days, he relinquishes the World Heavyweight Championship, has nothing to hang his head in shame about, carried the championship the best way that he can, seemed like he was getting in really good shape. He looked good, in the ring. You can tell like he was really focusing on his physique. He really took being champion serious, and that's all you can ask for. But at the end of the day, I understand why WWE did what they did by allowing Gunther to to win back the World Heavyweight Championship. So I have absolutely no issue with that. Jerry says, Monday night sucked for me every week since Raw moved to Netflix earlier this year. Well, look, I think that, this show right here, it wasn't bad. And it seems like to me, like they really tried to put emphasis on the wrestling on this show. They really made it feel like it was a PLE type style Monday Night Raw. They really promoted the main event for the last couple of weeks, Gunther versus Jey Uso. So they made it feel that way. And, you also had a couple surprises. Well, not so much surprises, but, RTruth cutting his hair, Nikki Bella going back and forth with Liv Morgan putting her in the Oblivion finisher. You had some surprises, the return of Bayley. So you had some things that, that kind of stood out. I was shocked that Seth Rollins didn't cash in. I thought that maybe, WWE is to give Gunther an out. I thought that maybe they will have both guys kind of beat up, battered and bruised. And then all of a sudden, maybe Jey Uso can find a way to squeak out a victory. And then out comes Seth Rollins with a stomp or something like that, or implementing himself into the match similar to that of WrestleMania when he won it with the heist of the century. But I'm not upset with this. I'm also interested to see what's going to happen because, Gunther is a strong champion. John Cena is on a different show. So how in the world is Seth Rollins going to try to maneuver this? Gunther is not one of those guys that is going to look vulnerable or be vulnerable. That's not a part of his character. So maybe this is one of those situations where Seth Rollins is going to play the long game. We know he did it with his first Money in the Bank win, where everybody was wondering, like, dang, man, this dude had this Money in the Bank for a very, very long time. So maybe, just maybe, this could be one of those cases where he holds it all the way to Mania, or maybe cash it in on his way to Mania, maybe the Royal Rumble or something like that, where he can main event, I don't know, with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, a main event with CM Punk, because I don't feel like CM Punk is going to beat John Cena. I don't see that happening at all. But all in all, I don't have an issue that he didn't cash in. I was just a tad bit shocked that he didn't. But that's the Monday Night Raw review, man. What do you think about Monday Night Raw? How many stars would you give Monday Night Raw? You know, if I was a star giver, if I was like a Dave Meltzer, how many stars would I give Monday Night Raw tonight? Out of 1 to 10, I would probably give it about 5 stars. Even a 6, you know, because of the promo of RTruth, you know, really coming out and really shocking the world by willing to cut his hair on live television. I think you got to give it an extra star just based on that. I thought that the men's and women's qualifying match for the king and queen of the ring, I thought that those matches were pretty solid. I thought that the main event between Gunther and Jey Uso was a pretty solid match. You know, John Cena promo with CM Punk wasn't the strongest promo that I think I've ever seen. I think that both guys did okay. And you know, I think that there was some spots where I just feel like it was like, man, you know, but it was a solid show. It kept me entertained for the 2.5 hours that it was on. And now we got to see, you know, how would Jey Uso respond after losing his World Heavyweight Championship? You know, will he be upset? Maybe he will take Gunther's advice. Maybe he looked at it like, man, if I didn't help out so many people, if I wasn't looking out for so many folks, then maybe I would be World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe this is just going to change Jey Uso in the way that he is presented going forward. Seth Rollins, you know, what is he going to do? Mr. Money in the Bank. How will Gunther be able to keep this World Heavyweight Championship reign going this time around? You know, Bayley, you know, who will challenge Becky Lynch out of her in live with Valkyria? So a lot of storylines that we have to pay attention to. What's going to happen with Rhea Ripley? You know, some momentum seems like, you know, it's becoming a little stale with Rhea. You know, what are you going to do with her? So many different things could come out of this Monday Night Raw, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next week. And I also appreciate everybody that checked out this episode of the TJAY Knows Wrestling Podcast. Yes, we are underway. We've had a few episodes, so hopefully we can grow this show, and it grows by you hitting that like button and that subscribe button to help this show reach higher heights. Hope that you enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed the time. Till next time, I'll see you down the road.